Metroid and Castlevania revolutionized action platforming by creating their own subgenre, Metroidvanias. The Metroidvania genre has become one of the most popular styles of video games in the industry over the past few years, and these outstanding games are some of the best examples as to why that is. Welcome to Game Rant, everyone. I'm Bilal, and here's our ranking of the 11 best Metroidvanias. At number 11, Carrion. One of the most inventive games of 2020, Carrion is best described as a reverse horror game where players control the monster as opposed to a human protagonist. It is a remarkably unique game, made even better by virtue of also being one of the most overlooked Metroidvanias of the past decade. Carrion's map is a delight to explore, as this unnerving and multi-level laboratory is filled with some outstanding environmental storytelling. Upgrading the abilities of the monster leads to some fun and unique combat systems, as the more humans the creature eats, the bigger and stronger it becomes. At number 10, Blasphemous. Made by a team of under 20 people, Blasphemous was influenced by Spanish mythology and tells the tale of the Penitent One and his quest through the land of Custodia. The game features a gorgeous art style brought to life with fabulous pixel art and some amazingly detailed backgrounds. The world of Custodia is occupied by disturbing enemies pulled straight from Catholic iconography, and defeating them will help the Penitent One level up and increase their ability to find relics. These allow the Penitent One to reach areas they couldn't previously, and open up the already complex map even further. At number 9, Salt and Sanctuary. It's safe to say that the Metroidvania genre has influenced independent developers in some pretty significant ways, as there are a huge number of games in this style on the indie scene. One of the best examples of that is Salt and Sanctuary, a Metroidvania set in a dark and dreary world. Taking control of the Saltborn, players explore a vast and evolving map, one that borrows elements from both Dark Souls in its combat and Metroidvanias of the past in its exploration. The combat feels excellent, and using new abilities to unlock new areas, a trademark of the genre, is present here in some fantastic ways. At number 8, Axiom Verge. Taking strong influence from games like Super Metroid and Bionic Commando, Axiom Verge was developed by a single person and is still one of the most impressive indie Metroidvania games one can find on the market. This incredible Metroidvania tells the tale of Trace, a scientist who wakes up on a strange alien world and must explore the expanding map in order to survive and escape. Axiom Verge features some lovely pixel art visuals and a sense of open exploration that is absolutely wonderful. The world of Sudra is full of secrets, all of which are a joy to uncover. Taking 7th, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. After a long absence, with the last mainline game being released in 2009, Jordan Mechner's iconic franchise returned with Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown in 2024. And while it doesn't feature the prince as a playable character, players do take control of a charismatic young warrior named Sargon as he attempts to rescue the titular character. The Lost Crown is an amazingly designed game, partially abandoning the action platformer roots of the franchise and crafting a tight and highly entertaining Metroidvania in its place. Combat and exploration are deftly put together, featuring a huge map to explore, and the trademark Metroidvania ability gating and backtracking is perfectly done in this modern classic. Taking 6th, Shadow Complex. Written by acclaimed comic book writer Peter David, Shadow Complex was published as an Xbox Live Arcade exclusive in 2009. This ambitious game changed expectations for Xbox Live Arcade, as previous games on the service were rather simplistic. With Shadow Complex, developers Chair Entertainment produced an absolutely fantastic Metroidvania that was recently remastered and is available on most modern platforms. Set in an underground facility, Shadow Complex tells the story of Jason as he attempts to rescue his girlfriend Claire from the Restoration, a group bent on starting a civil war in the US. Taking its strongest influence from Super Metroid, the map of Shadow Complex is incredibly fun to reveal, as the new armor and abilities gained make doing so a blast. At 5th, Guacamelee. The Metroidvania genre was experiencing some changes in 2013 as games were starting to fuse new elements into it, and the debates surrounding its definition were getting more involved. One game that contributed to that by adding its own unique flair was Guacamelee, a charming and brilliant Metroidvania starring a masked luchador named Juan as he attempts to rescue the daughter of El Presidente. Drawing from Latino culture and the Mexican holiday El Día de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, Guacamelee is a lovely game with tons of character and a fabulous sense of exploration. From hand-to-hand combat, grapple holds, and wrestling moves, along with the ability to swap between the land of the living and the land of the dead, makes Guacamelé's map a thrill to explore. Next is a pioneer of the genre, Castlevania: Symphony of the Night. Symphony of the Night has a long-lasting legacy that is still felt to this day. This classic PlayStation 1 game cultivated a huge number of features that define traditional Metroidvanias today, including backtracking, ability gating, and non-linear map design. Areas are expertly gated off, requiring new abilities or weapons to enter either for the first time or to revisit later. Combat feels sharp and tactful, while the RPG system is just deep enough to feel customizable without taking away from the minute-to-minute action of platforming and exploration. Third place, Hollow Knight. While there's the agonizing wait for the sequel Silksong, none of that stops Hollow Knight from being a fantastic Metroidvania in its own right. This dark fantasy Metroidvania casts players as the Knight, a tiny warrior who engages with enemies in a fallen subterranean kingdom known as Hollow Nest. It features some absolutely breathtaking visuals, gorgeous music, and a lovely style with a subtle sense of dread. Combat is frantic and challenging, as enemies have unpredictable movement and often feel quite fast. Taking second, Arkham Asylum. A 3D Metroidvania is rare, but perhaps one of the best examples of that is Batman Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum sees the return of many animated series voice actors, such as the late Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker, as players control the Dark Knight as he ventures through the iconic DC prison. Whereas most 2D Metroidvanias use magic or some sort of science fiction explanation to contextualize abilities, Arkham Asylum does so by having Batman acquire new gadgets that are used to gain access to new areas, as well as further explore ones previously visited. It also unlocks the ability to solve more Riddler puzzles and find more Riddler trophies, with some being ability locked. Arkham Asylum gets constantly remastered and re-released, so there's very easy access to this phenomenal game. And taking the top spot, Metroid Prime. Honestly, about half of this list could have been dominated by the Metroid series, but diversifying in these games is important. After showing everyone how to make a proper 2D action platformer with Super Metroid in 1994, Nintendo put intergalactic bounty hunter Samus Aran on ice for nearly 10 years. When they were finally ready to bring her back into the spotlight, they did so with class by producing Metroid Prime, a truly remarkable game that is still one of the finest 3D Metroidvanias of all time. Forced into an emergency landing on Talon 4 after engaging with Ridley, Samus is faced with the challenge of uncovering the planet's many mysteries. Old upgrades from previous titles like the Morph Ball and Grapple Beam feel amazing in 3D, while new armors like the Phazon suit add variety. Talon 4 is a brilliant and intricately designed world, and the player's ability to become intimately familiar with its layout makes exploration incredibly rewarding. This GameCube classic did of course get remastered for the Switch last year, making it easier than ever to revisit this masterpiece. And that's our ranking of the 11 best Metroidvanias. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.